Hello everyone. Welcome to this video. In today's video we are going to talk about the second part of your 12th unit, biological processes. In this video we are going to talk about two systems of the human body. They are the human digestive system and the respiratory system. So what is a system? So a system is basically a collection of organs. So what is an organ? So organs are basically a collection of cells and tissues. So if you all are not familiar with what is an organ, what is a cell, what is a tissue, I suggest you all watch my first video, that is the first part of this lesson, and the link to it will be down in the description below. So coming down to today's lesson, we are going to talk about the human digestive system. So what do you mean by digestion? In simple, digestion is breaking down food into simpler substances. So why do we need to break this food into such small substances? Because it is quite easy to absorb them into our bodies. So when you consider this diagram here, you can see that food exists as large particles. Our teeth rips them and tears them and grinds them into smaller food particles, and that is a type of digestion, and that digestion is called mechanical digestion. Now, these smaller food particles will be mixed with various digestive juices, and there a chemical digestion occurs, and the small food particles will be broken down into even more simpler food particles, which then after that will be absorbed into our body. So the human digestion is quite important for the existence of all organisms. And there are two main functions of human digestive system. The first function is, as shown here, it turns large food particles into simpler food substances, into simpler particles. Then the next importance is that it absorbs the small food particles, the nutrients in them, into the body. So those are the two main functions of the human digestive system. Now here we can see two pictures of the human digestive system. The first picture over here is a three-dimensional structure, and the one over here, it's a line diagram. So these are the parts you get in the digestive system. The mouth, the buccal cavity, is where mechanical digestion takes place when we grind large food substances into smaller substances. Then we get the salivary gland, the pharynx, the esophagus, the liver, the stomach, the gallbladder, the pancreas, the large intestine, the small intestine, the appendix, rectum, and the anus. So here it's the same. You get the buccal cavity or the mouth cavity, salivary glands, pharynx, the esophagus, the liver, the gallbladder, the stomach, the pancreas, the large intestine and the small intestine, the appendix, the rectum, and the anus. So it's very important that we remember these parts, because they could ask you all to label the parts of a human digestive system. Now, keeping that in our mind, let us see the structure and the functions of different organs of the human digestive system. So let's take the first organ, the buccal cavity or the mouth cavity. So here, as I had told earlier, large food particles are broken down into small pieces by the teeth where mechanical digestion takes place. And these salivary glands, they secrete various enzymes that help the food to get digested. So chemical digestion starts from the buccal cavity or the mouth cavity. Now, saliva has amylase enzyme which helps break down carbohydrates into smaller substances. And the tongue helps with chemical digestion as it mixes the food with saliva for chemical digestion. Then next we get the pharynx. Now the pharynx is a common cavity of the digestive tract and the larynx. And here the pharynx pushes the food in the mouth cavity into the esophagus. Then our next part is the esophagus. Here food is pushed in the mouth cavity to the stomach through this esophagus. Now the next organ is the stomach. It is a muscular sac and digestion is efficient in here because it has an acidic nature due to the digestive juices secreted. And food is stored in the stomach for about 3 hours normally. Food is digested further when these digestive juices are mixed in the stomach. Then the food goes into the small intestine. And the small intestine is around 6 meters long and it's a folded tubular structure. And different types of food digestion with digestive juices takes place over here. Now digestion is completed and absorbed digestive food into the body while food passes through this small intestine. And here there are finger-like projections called villi in the small intestine to increase the surface for efficient digestion. So you all will be learning more about these when you come to your higher grades. Then we are going to talk about the large intestine. So the large intestine is shorter than the small intestine but is considerably broad. And here water is absorbed into our body. Once food passes through the large intestine, it will come to the anus. Now this is the terminal end of the digestive system and semi-solid feces is released through the anus. So we must understand that, and at the same time we should also remember that the glands, the salivary glands that you get, and also the liver and the pancreas, they too play a major role in digestion. But we will be discussing it further on in the near future, most probably in your higher grades. Now moving on, we are going to talk about the human respiratory system. So what do you mean by respiration? So respiration is the process where energy is produced by reacting simple foods with oxygen. So simple food reacts with oxygen which we get when we inhale to produce energy in the form of ATP and also carbohydrates and water vapor which we put out when we exhale. This energy is used for various biological activities in our body like metabolism, catabolism, anabolism, which we will be learning in the near future. So here I told you all about inhaling and exhaling. So what do you mean by inhaling? Inhaling is basically inspiration, and that is the intake of air needed for respiration. Expiration is also called exhaling or breathing out, where we remove carbon dioxide and water vapor formed during respiration. Now here we can see the respiratory system, the nasal cavity, the pharynx, the larynx, the trachea, the right lung, and this will be the left lung. Here you will get the ribs and the rib cage. Then inside the lung you will have bronchus, and this is the left bronchus because it's in the left lung. You will get bronchioli, which is smaller than the bronchus, and you will have the diaphragm over here. This is the diaphragm. So this is also very important for you to keep in mind, because they could ask you all for y'all's exams to label the diagram. Now here we are going to see the path in which respiration occurs. So first we have to breathe in air through our nasal cavities. Then the air gets warmed up and then it gets filtered while passing along the our nasal cavity as it gets moist. Then the air moves from the pharynx to the trachea through the larynx. Then after that, the air will pass through the right and the left bronchus. Following that, the air reaches the lungs, and exchange of oxygen in air is absorbed to the blood, and carbon dioxide in blood is diffused or put into the lungs. Then the exhaled air passes through the same path and is released out through the nasal cavity. So this is very important because it is the path in which the gaseous exchange of oxygen and carbon dioxide takes place in our respiratory system. And this is something very crucial for you all to know, because they most certainly could ask this as well for y'all's examinations. And this is very important because you should know this thing for your knowledge in your upper grades. Now for extra knowledge, you all should understand that when we bite and mince the food, it breaks down into a small particle, into small substances, and the tongue mixes it up with saliva, and that is called as a bolus. Now this bolus comes to the pharynx. Okay, comes to the pharynx. Then it goes to the esophagus without going into the trachea. The food bolus goes into the esophagus without going to this. Why is that? Because the trachea door or the epiglottis is closing the trachea, so the bolus will go only into the esophagus. Now we can construct a model of a human respiratory system like this using a glass tube, a stopper, a bell jar, an airspace. That means basically you should have some airspace in the bell jar, and also some balloons and a rubber sheet. And then later on we can simply pull this rubber sheet down, and then we will notice that these balloons get filled with air, or else it simply gets larger. So what we must remember over here is that the Y tubes, or basically the glass tube that is shaped like Y, represents our trachea or the bronchus. The bell jar represents the chest cavity, whereas the rubber balloons will represent the lungs, and the rubber membrane will represent the diaphragm. So whenever we breathe in air, the diaphragm is contracted and our lungs tend to get expanded. So we will study about this further on in the near future. With that, we have come to the end of today's lesson. So, as per the summary, we learned that cell is the basic structural and functional unit of living being. The order of organizational levels of the body is cells to tissues to organs to systems to organism. And we also learned that food is converted into simple state by digestive system so that it can be absorbed into our body. And also we learned that the respiratory process contributes to obtain oxygen needed to produce energy and excretion of carbon dioxide and water vapor. Also we learned that the process where energy is produced by reacting simple foods with oxygen is called respiration. Now with that summary, let us do a small exercise before we end the lesson. So this is the exercise you get in your textbook. So let us do this together. The first question, select the correct answer. The structure and functional unit of living beings is called a cell. It's called a cell. The tissue responsible to transport water and minerals through a plant body is the xylem. Xylem transports water and minerals. Phloem transports food. Otherwise, you could simply say sucrose solution. The organ that does not belong to the digestive system is it the liver, trachea, large intestine, or the anus? The answer is 2, trachea. The organ common to respiratory system and the food digestive system is larynx, bronchus, esophagus, or is it the pharynx? The answer is 4, pharynx, because this is common to both. Esophagus, it's the digestive system and the rest belongs to the respiratory system only. Now, which of the following processes does not occur in small intestine? Collection of pancreatic juice and bile, completing of digestion, absorption of digested food, food is broken down into small pieces. What does not occur? So here food isn't broken down into small pieces. Various juices are secreted into the small intestine, so the first one is correct. And in the small intestine, the digestion is completed. In the large intestine, what happens is water is absorbed into the body and the feces are shaped in the end of the latter part of the large intestine. So there is no digestion, only absorption of water. Now then the third one is absorption of digested food. While digestion takes place here, it also absorbs food and the remains are going out as feces. Therefore the third one is also correct. Then the answer should be the fourth one, as there is only chemical digestion and no mechanical digestion. Now the second one, complete the following table, organ and its function. So I will just say one function for each of these organs. So the stomach, food is stored in this stomach. You can simply say that food is stored here. For small intestine, you could simply say that it absorbs digestive food to the body. Then for the large intestine, you can simply tell absorption of water. Nasal cavity, you can tell intake of inhaled air. Then the fifth one is the larynx. So you can write for this, air moves from the pharynx to the trachea through the larynx. So it's basically acting as its function is that it acts as a path for air to move from the pharynx to the trachea. Okay, so with that we have come to the end of this lesson. So hope you all understood the lesson and enjoyed this video. So if you all have any questions, you all can comment it down in the comment section, and don't forget to leave a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel and help me grow my channel. So until next time, bye.